After more than a year of fighting for the Syrian city of Homs, about 1,200 fighters and civilians are leaving. Homs became known as the capital of the revolution, as one of the first cities to rise up against Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. But the opposition is turning to a new strategy, asking Washington for arms to force Assad back to the negotiating table. CCTV's Jessica Stone joins us now with details on that.
And in fact, we heard today from the president of Syria's main opposition, Mike, who used his first remarks in Washington, D.C. to make a call for more arms. He's expected to echo that when he meets with U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry on Thursday. This video from social media websites claims to show Wednesday's evacuations of Syrian rebel fighters and civilians. Activists say these green government buses will eventually carry more than 1,200 from the besieged city center of Homs. It's all because of a negotiated ceasefire deal with the Syrian government, the evacuation of the rebel fighters for the release of some 70 pro-government gunmen and other captives. The truce is allowing some residents to see for the first time the full extent of damage left after a year-plus long siege of this, the symbol of the Syrian opposition effort against Syrian President Bashar al-Assad.
For the first time in 3 years, I am able to stand here in front of the old city. We have been smelling strange odors during the last 3 days.
On Martyrs' Day, President Assad and his wife greeted children orphaned during the nation's 3-year bloody civil war. More than 150,000 have died. Assad plans to run for re-election June 3rd. But in the U.S. Wednesday, the leader of the main Syrian opposition bloc said Assad must not be re-elected and pleaded for Washington to arm the rebels. He says it's the only way to get Assad to negotiate peace.
One important way is to have the weapons that can retaliate, that can face the air raid, that can change the political and the tactical balance of force on the ground, which will lead to a genuine political solution.
The Obama administration has approved a diplomatic mission in Washington for the Syrian opposition. It agreed to increase non-lethal assistance to the opposition by $27 million. But Washington still refuses to offer arms to any members of Syrian opposition groups.
We still believe that a political process and the pursuit of a political outcome is the best way to proceed here.
And there are also reports that al-Jarba will meet with the U.S. president during his stay here in Washington, D.C. Meantime, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry heads back to Geneva next week to join the London 11 for further negotiations to negotiate a peace treaty.
You know, it seems like a lifetime ago that the U.S. and Russia were working to try and get chemical weapons out of Syria. Now Russia has such strained relations with not only the United States, but a lot of Western allies. So talk to me about the chances for progress there.
Well, that's really going to be an open question, Mike. I think when you have this London 11 meeting, you've got to keep in mind that 3 or 4 of those members next week don't really have good relations with Russia. And Russia was really the kingpin, the key point, the leverage that got a lot of things done in Syria. And, you know, even today we heard from al-Jarba, he reiterates this accusation that Russia is still arming Bashar al-Assad in Syria, and the Russians haven't backed away from that. They have arms deals, and they've successfully completed them to the Russians. So it's going to be tricky next week.
All right, Jessica, thanks so much. For more on the development